Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the JP on Comms channel for the first all you need to know video of the upcoming 23-24 National League South campaign following Maidstone United, of course. And if you're watching this video, you're probably more than aware, as by the title of the video, if not the club's official statement, that they have announced their first signing of the summer. A brand new player coming into this squad to hopefully bolster Maidstone and push them towards a title winning season next year once again. And of course, that player is Devonte Aransibia. Now, if you're not familiar with Devonte, I will get into who he is in just a moment, but he is someone who I did highlight a couple weeks back in a potential signings video. In a video, I did list 4 potential midfield signings, and Devonte was one on that list. So, on a personal note, it's something I'm really happy about. Can you tell? Of course, we're going to get into the all you need to know on this player, and let's take a little look at who he is first of all. So, Devonte is a 24-year-old central midfielder. He is left-footed primarily. Of course, does have some ability on his right foot, but very much dominant on his left, and he's a fantastic attacking midfield player coming in from Tonbridge Angels off the back of a good campaign for the side in the National League South. 43 games in the National League South last season with 10 goals. So hitting double-digit goals as a midfielder is something that cannot be underestimated. Of course, something we did lack, really, goals from different areas of the field last season in the National League, and something that boded so well for us last time around in the National League South. So getting someone in who can do that on a consistent basis is something I'm really much looking forward to. So averaging a goal every 4.3 games last season, and of course you've got to account for the fact he wouldn't have played every minute of those games as well, so his minutes per goal would have been a lot more impressive than that as well. So a very good finisher in terms of his output. That's something I really like the look of. And let's take a little look now at his career profile up to date. We'll get into him as a player a little bit more in depth in a moment. So what is his career looking like up to date? Up to now, obviously signing for Maidstone, potentially the biggest club of his career, I think many would argue, except going back to his youth days, of course, which is where we're going to start off. So Devonte did start off playing for Norwich in the under-18s. This is something he mentioned in his recent signing video, but he did feature really quite prominently for their under-18s as well. In just 28 games, he bagged himself 7 goals and 7 assists. So 1 goal and 1 assist every 4 games. So he's getting a goal involvement every 2 games as a central midfielder, and that is something to behold, especially at a very young age. Sometimes younger players do struggle with their output, and that's not something he seems to have struggled with at any point in his career. So after playing for the under-18s, he moved up to the under-21s, where he played 33 games, 3 goals, 3 assists. So again, good output. He's getting a goal involvement every 5 games roughly there, and that's really good. Obviously the step up from under-18s to under-21s is going to be a lot more significant, yet he's still getting that output. So that's a good sign, of course. And his transition into men's football did begin with a loan move to Billericay Town. Did play a few games there, and once leaving Norwich, he ended up playing for 3 different clubs. He ended up at Kingstonian, Potters Bar and Royston as well, featuring many times for each of those. So he's got some lower National League level experience, of course. Has played for Billericay too, which is of course slightly up the pecking order from the likes of Potters Bar and Royston, of course. But of course, last season in the National League South, the 21-22 season, was where the bulk of his playing career has really come from. The most consistent season we've seen in terms of men's professional football, semi-professional, of course, in some circumstances. And last season in the National League South, in those 43 games, he did score 10 goals in. He did feature for 3 different clubs. He played for Welling, Chelmsford and Tonbridge Angels, of course, who we have managed to get him from. For each of those clubs, his numbers look a little bit like this. So he scored 1 goal in 7 games for Welling. He got 2 goals in 7 games for Chelmsford and 7 goals in 29 for Tonbridge. So of course Tonbridge, the much more fruitful club out of his performances last season, really found his feet performing in Jay Saunders' side. Of course, the ex-Stones manager potentially could have opened up that deal for us, made that a little bit more accessible. I'm sure he maintains some form of relationship with the club in some aspect, but Let's now talk about Devonte's playing style. Of course, what is it that we are going to be looking for in this player? So, of course, as I've already said, a central midfield player, certainly more on the attacking side, of course. And I think many people will be looking so desperately for that Regan Booty replacement, of course, having recently announced his departure from the club. But for me, he's not really going to be suiting that role. He doesn't really feature as deep in a side, and he's someone who plays in much more advanced positions, likes to drift out wide a little bit too, which we'll get onto. But for me, he is a fantastic replacement for the departing Dom Odesanya, potentially a very good upgrade on Dom as well if things do click for us next season. So let's talk about what it is he does on the pitch. Well, he does like to pick up that space on the edge of the box. Many times in videos I've watched of him playing around that central midfield area, doing really well, riding challenges from defenders as well. Not easy to get the ball off at times, and often skipping past players to open up some space on a quick break. What I saw from him quite often was finding players out on the left or on the right, and obviously creating that space for himself by attracting the ball to another player, obviously attracting defenders away from himself, and that is allowing him to get onto the edge of the box, really open up space for himself, and that is where he gets quite a few of his goals, shooting from the edge of the box or thereabouts. Picking up goals from range is something that he's done quite frequently in the previous season, but he does also like to get in the box as well, which is something I'll talk about now. So, as I mentioned earlier on, likes to drift wide. Playing in that central position, obviously being a left-footed player, he's more naturally going to drift out to that left-hand side and get down that touchline. He's got good ability to beat a player as well, as I said before, skipping past people in challenges and getting down that left-hand side. He's got an ability to get a ball in as well. Of course, feeding balls into Jordan Greenidge, a 6'4", absolute tank of a man up front, is going to be a little bit more easy for him to get some assists from than, you know, you might have seen last season for Maidstone, of course, punting balls in to the likes of Jack Barham. But all credit to Jack, to be fair. He does leap like a salmon, but there's no comparison to 6'4" Jordan Greenidge. So he's got ability to play the ball in from the left. He's got great ability to play the ball in the middle, and he's got really good ability to strike the ball from range on the edge of the box as well. So I really like the look of him. 20 goals in 98 games for him in his career, I do believe. So very fruitful. He's averaging a goal every 5 games throughout his career, a little bit less than that, every 4.99 games or something. And for me, that is a really good sign. I mean, if he does that next season, we're going to be looking at another 9-goal season, or roughly that as well. Of course, we need to talk a little bit about his career profile again, just in the sense that, of course, playing for the likes of Welling, Chelmsford, Tonbridge, these are all teams who never really had that bar set so high for them in the National League South last season. And of course, if you have watched his interview that was released by the club not too long ago, after I will be posting, or before I'll be posting this, you will have seen that he does seem a little bit shy on the camera, a little bit maybe quieter than some would expect from a player of his ability. But there was one comment in there that he made when asked the question of what can Maidstone fans expect to see from you this season, which got me absolutely delighted, and I thought it was a perfect answer. He said that you're going to expect to see a lot from me. You know, I'm going to do a lot this season, this coming season, and for me, having that level of confidence in your ability, especially going into a side that's expected at least to do a lot better than the likes of the sides that he was playing at in the previous season, I really think we're going to see some big things from him. I'm really excited about this deal. I think he could be a really good player for us if things do click. Of course, as well, being at Tonbridge for the majority of last season, he's going to be very familiar with the 3G artificial surface they have as well, recently installed, and that transition into this Gallagher Stadium home turf is, of course, going to be very beneficial. We may be less likely to see the impact on him compared to the likes of Solwangel Smith, of course, has struggled with that at times this season. So getting on a little bit now, but of course there's so much to talk about considering he's such a good player in my opinion. So of course that is where I'm going to leave things. A very good player, someone I'm very excited to see in this side, someone I'm absolutely delighted we've managed to bring in, and I hope that sets the foundations on the back of that George Fowler contract extension from this morning as well, to really start to construct another title winning season for Maidstone. So that is where I'm going to leave things. Thank you also very much for watching. If you did enjoy this video and you want to see more All You Need to Know videos about all of the Stones upcoming signings when they are announced, then of course do subscribe to the channel down below. Do leave a like on this video if you did enjoy this one in particular, and leave your comments and your thoughts in the comment section below about Devonte signing for the club. So thank you also very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.